Oh, this is gonna hurt.
Welcome to Utah, home to a little town called Moab. This is Big Sky, Thelma and Louise, Red Rock and Canyons country. America at its most American.
It's also a mecca for off-road enthusiasts who travel here in their hundreds of thousands every year to scare themselves witless on trails like this one with 1,000-foot drops over there. It's fun, apparently, so we thought we'd give this great American tradition a go.
But there's more to Moab than just scrabbling around on a cliff edge playing rock, paper, scissors with the Grim Reaper. The town itself is brimming with tradition. Founded by missionaries and miners, it was once the uranium capital of the world, which is how most of these trails were plotted out in the first place, looking for minerals in vehicles far less capable than ours. But it's four-wheel tourism that's taken over these days thanks to friendly-sounding trails like Hell's Revenge, Poison Spider, and the one we'll be attempting not to die on, Cliffhanger.
If you've ever been to the Nürburgring in Germany, you'll know the experience starts way before you've spanned your tuned Golf R into the Armco at turn 2. You start to drive into town, you see the tuning shops dotted around, the density of interesting cars increases, and then eventually you're right in the middle of it, surrounded by the track and iconic places to stay and eat.
Moab is America's Nürburgring, just with less speed, more axle articulation. There are 4x4 workshops everywhere to get you fixed up and back out on the trail ASAP, places to rent wheels if you don't have anything suitable yourself, and you'll find institutions like Milt's, the Moab Diner, and Lynn Ottinger's rock shop that's full of dinosaur bones and fossils Lynn's been digging up since the 1930s. Oh, and the actual anvil used to make shoes for Butch Cassidy's horse. Anyway, souvenirs purchased, it was time to meet the man who'd be keeping us safe on our adventure.
Okay, so if there's anyone that knows this town best, it's this man right here. Jim Horn, he works for a company called Jeep Jamboree. He's going to be guiding us today, keeping us out of trouble. And you also live here in Moab.
I do.
So what is it that makes this town so special, unique?
You know, I mean, it's definitely one of the most beautiful places in the world, but it's just the raw freedom of being able to go out here and wheel and have a good time, definitely on trail, but just the beauty and the ruggedness, it draws from people from all over the world.
It feels like a good time town, like everyone's here for recreation and just to enjoy themselves.
It is.
All of that. Okay, so the trail we're doing today, Cliffhanger. I'll be honest, I picked it because the name sounded cool. How difficult is it? How does it rate on the sort of rank of
It's
trails
above
out here?
moderate for sure.
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't run that trail without at least 35-inch tires and
All right.
a couple inches of lift and front and rear lockers.
Okay.
Like this Jeep right here, super capable, but it might not look exactly like this by the end of the day.
It is a bit clean, isn't
Yeah,
it? It's fresh.
yeah. You
fresh
can't
out
have
of
a
the
Jeep like this in Moab. So.
No, but we're good. I mean, I'm just looking at your Jeep over there. That's had some work done. That's got bigger tires and that's been beefed up, right?
Yeah. That Jeep gets used every day, so the bigger the better.
I'm feeling a little outgunned right now because this is the hybrid as well. So we're going to be running around on electric power when
cool.
when we don't need more than 100 horsepower, and then the four-cylinder engine's going to kick in.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to get laughed off the trail in a hybrid, am I?
No way. I can tell already your driving skill is important, and you're going to crush it out there.
And
with
that's
this
based
Jeep.
entirely on me moving it from a car park over here to a car park over here. I can tell Jim knows his stuff. Right, just one last thing. I want to get the doors off this.
Sure.
Can you help me do that?
Oh, love to.
All right, and we need to get some air out the tires, right?
Sounds good. Yeah,
down.
definitely.
Okay, let's grab the tools.
Eventually, the Jeep was naked, we had everything we needed, and it was time to conquer the cliffhanger.
Falling slowly, let go and feel free. Rolling under the stars.
This is just insane. We've only just turned off the tarmac. We're not even on the trail yet. This is the dusty road that leads up to it, and it's already one of the most beautiful roads I've ever seen. Right, the car, we need to talk about the car. It's a Jeep, you've probably noticed. Now we could have done this in a Bronco, in a Land Rover, a Rivian even, but we've done it in a Jeep because out here, Jeep isn't just a manufacturer. Jeep is a religion, a cult almost, and I was slightly worried that if I did it in anything else, a friendly local might push me over the edge. So the exact car we got is a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 20th anniversary 4xe, which means this is a plug-in hybrid. So you've got a 2-litre turbocharged petrol engine and electric motors, total of 375 horsepower and 470 pounds-feet of torque, which should be plenty for the job in hand. And this 20th anniversary model, among some choice modifications, has half an inch of extra lift over the standard Rubicon. Half an inch. Is that going to make a difference?
And then we arrived at our first genuinely challenging obstacle of the day, a set of steps that, without Jim cheerily waving me on, I probably would have turned around and gone back to the hotel.
I'm just waiting for a clunk. Like that one. Oh my word. I mean, is there skill to this? I'm going to claim there is, but oh. So cheap. I'm so sorry. This must look bonkers from the outside. Cars aren't supposed to do this. I'm nearly there. Hopefully I'll have some car left by the time I get to the bottom. Here I come. Flat land. And just a quick look up the hill at what I've just come down. How on earth is that possible? Baffled and slightly bruised. Onwards.
And it wasn't long until we reached our next obstacle and we started making friends.
Stand out, throttle out.
How are you going to get out there? But with style. Yeah. Right. Which way are we going? Anything some nutters on a bike can do, a inexperienced man in a Jeep can do too, right? A car shouldn't be able to go up that. I'm going to trust my guide that it will, but prepare yourself for some metal on rock. This is going to be, ooh, it's going to be crunchy. Okay, front and rear diff are now locked up. I've taken it out of EV only mode because I might need a kick of more than 100 odd horsepower to get myself up this ledge. So I've got the engine primed and ready as well. Good to go. All right. There's the crunch. Oh, the pain of this. Yeah, as you can probably see, we've beached ourselves a couple of times there. Yeah, the tyres have just got nothing to grab on. So the guides are piling up a load of rocks here. Hopefully that will give us something to purchase and be able to claw our way up. I mean, I told you it looked impossible. So far, it is. No! Stuck?
Yeah, we're just gonna get you wedged. We'll just get you off real quick.
Might be a little bit stuck. Just a tiny bit. You know when you're a little bit stuck but not fully stuck? That's where we are right now. Get the tow rope out. Come on.
Okay, so this was starting to feel like we were skiing a black run with sticks of celery attached to our feet. But we weren't giving up yet. Luckily, Jim had his tow rope handy to unwedge us, which gave us some time to realise just what we got ourselves into.
It's 12:30 and we're a fraction of the way in.
Yes.
So we got to get all the way up here before it gets dark and we're eaten by coyotes. No? Bears?
Leave you some snacks.
We brought lunch, right?
And while I was busy worrying about the lunch situation, Jim and his team had finally freed our Jeep, and boy had I made a mess of it.
Okay, damage assessment time. These rock sliders along the side, yeah, they're pretty scuffed up. The rear wheel arch where we were leaning against that rock, same for the beadlock wheels, they've had a bit of a pasting. And the rear bumper, yeah, that's definitely seen better days. But the genius of the Jeep's design is the fact that all these parts are pretty cheap and pretty easily replaceable. See?
Just as well, because we still had a fair way to go on our trail, and after bump, after bump, after bump, after bump, I was starting to wonder how much of our Jeep we'd have left once we reached the end.
I don't think I appreciated how much of a contact sport this off-roading is. We spend our lives, I do at least, trying to avoid any sort of metal on rock contact. If you touch your alloy wheel on a curb, that feeling when it crunches is just, is absolutely horrible. But here, we're bumping off the scenery left, right and centre, and to begin with, yeah, I couldn't come to terms with it. Now, already, I'm getting used to it. You use the edges of the car to guide you up the hill. Oh, hang on, here's a gnarly bit. There we go, there's the scrape. There's the scrape. Oh, this is just insane.
And then suddenly, everything felt a lot more serious.
Oh, my legs have gone funny. This is no margin for error territory right now. There is a mega drop off to my left. So big, in fact, if I was to fall off, I'll probably have enough time to read a book on the way down. And I'm not normally scared of heights or adrenaline sports. I've done bungee jumps and skydives, but when that happens, you've got a big rope attached to your feet or an instructor strapped to your back. Here, it's just nothing. Me and a lot of air.
And then we arrived at the obstacle that gave this trail its name.
Jim, any last minute tips? I'm about to go over the edge.
You know what? Just drive fast and take chances, brother. I believe in you.
I would say good advice, but in this situation, perhaps not. I like your philosophy, Jim.
Go for it, man.
Oh, this is gonna hurt. I'm sorry, little Jeep, you've taken us this far. Oh. Oh. This is not right. Oh, I thought we were gonna end over end there. Oh. I'm so sorry, car. How on earth did you survive that? Ah! Oh, I feel alive. I'm alive, Jim. I'm alive. I'm surprised the car's alive, if I'm honest, but we made it.
Congratulations, congratulations.
Feel the fear and do it anyway. That's my philosophy, and I've done it. Feeling good right now. Whew. I've got my Jeep. I've done the Cliffhanger. Look at that view. I've never seen anything like it. Hell of a lunch spot, Jim.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, beats a soggy sandwich at my desk in London any day. Right, you got to be honest, how were we out there?
Oh, you guys crushed it. Man among men in my book, driving wise.
Really? Really?
You
I
did
got stuck
awesome.
in 5 minutes. Like, I was a bit worried I was letting you down, if I'm honest.
You did let me down, and that's better than getting stuck in 4 minutes. Trust me, it happens to everybody out here.
Yeah, it was part of the fun, actually. And look, the car, you know, had to be pulled out of a few obstacles. It's crashed into a few others, but it's still going. It's a tough little factory fresh Jeep, this one.
Right off the showroom floor.
Yeah, and we're gonna have some more cred when we get back into town. 'Cause
Trail
we
cred for
some,
sure.
Yeah, we got some dents and some scratches. And speaking of which, how do we get back? Is there a nice little tarmac road that takes us back to town?
Well, I've got good news for you. If
Oh,
you
yeah.
liked it on the way up, you're going to get to do it again because that's the way back.
You're joking.
Nope,
You turn back that way.
we sure do.
Oh man, I'm not sure how much I got left in the tank, Jim.
You got enough.
We
I know you
literally
do.
don't have a choice though. That's the great
Nope.
thing. Right, I'm gonna take my pickle. I need the energy.
The fact that you can buy a car as capable as this and drive it straight from a showroom to trails as punishing as this is astonishing. As are the things we've seen, the geography we've conquered, and the people we've met along the way. Okay, we could have done with some more clearance and needed a couple of winches to help us through, but we made it. Jeeping in Moab, get it on your bucket lists immediately. But before we skip town, just a couple more traditions.
So Jack, at the beginning of that film, the Jeep looked remarkably like this one, but not so much by the end.
Yeah, a few little battle scars, little ding here and there. Maybe the boot didn't close after we're finished. But look, you know, this is a car that you can buy off the showroom floor and it can do insane stuff like that. We just proved what it can do and 99% of people aren't going to do it with it. Who wants a pristine Jeep anyway?
Probably just everyone who buys one. But yeah, no, I get your point. But I have to say, mega location, amazing film, looked stunning.
Yeah, and speaking of stuff that needs to be bashed back into shape with a hammer, tell us about this Mustang.
Yeah, well, this is actually cool. This is a Ruffian project, if you like, but rather than being a limited production car that we're used to seeing from manufacturers, etc., this is literally one guy's dream car, and he didn't pay for someone to build it. He taught himself how to use English wheels and handcrafted this thing in his garage, and then he let me drive it. Whatever happened to the great American hot rod? Every time I see that word, it's referring to a Porsche that looks like 1,000 other Porsches, just in a different colour. For me, a hot rod is all about blood, sweat and tears of one person building a car in their garage and then unleashing it to the world. Well, hot rods do still exist. You just need to know where to find them. This is a 1970 Mustang seen through the lens of a man named Chris Ashton and inspired by the Trans Am race series. Chris made lots of money in computer games, and with the sale of his company found himself with some free time. He's a passionate car guy and a creative, and well, you can guess what that led to. A project, a killer one. He poured time and love into bringing his vision of the perfect Mustang to life. Chris had no plans to build cars for other people, but somehow these things tend to have a life of their own. He called the car the Ruffian Mustang, and now it represents the genesis of Ruffian cars. A series of small batches of similarly outrageous creations will follow. Anyway, back to creating his vision in his garage. With just a few YouTube videos as learning aids, he bought an English wheel and some metalworking tools and set to work. And this car has 1700 man hours in it.
Yeah.
And by man hours, I mean Chris hours.
Yes. Yeah, that's me in my two-car garage.
And what else did you make on it? You made the entire body, which is amazing, but you saying you made the headers as well, is that right, for the exhaust system?
Yeah, the full exhaust system I did, and then there's a lot of 3D printed parts on it that I did. even the red stripe, which is vinyl, I did on my vinyl plotter in my bedroom. Like
this really is your baby.
Yeah, it's pretty much, you know, top to bottom. I sprayed the cage inside and the bottom of the chassis and the engine bay. That's all rattle can.
Really?
Spray paint.
You just did it with a rattle can.
Yeah.
The finish, I have to say, the finish is gorgeous. The imagination behind it is stunning. Not just the look, but the interior, the way it's all come together. And I can't believe you made it yourself with no experience, just
Appreciate
straight out
that.
there. Your patience is incredible.
Yeah. My background is art, which I think helps a lot. You know, the whole thing is it has to be functional, but it also has to look good, right? You can go too much one way or the other, so it's this weird balance in the middle.
Okay, well, we know for sure that it looks good. We know that it's beautifully finished and that it looks completely outrageous, but the function we haven't tested yet, so that is my cue to go to a racetrack, Chris to walk away and not look too closely, and we'll find out just how functional this car is. The story behind this car is fantastic. Basically, Chris, this guy is a car guy and he does autocrossing, racing around cones, all about precision, power, car control. So he wanted to build his own car that could do that. He loves that muscle car look, that Trans Am race heritage. So he chose this 1970 Mustang. It has, and some people will want to close their ears now, a Chevy engine. LS427, making about 625 horsepower. 6-speed manual Tremec box, 315 section front tyres, 345 rears, Toyos, they're basically slick tyres. So when I tell you it's quick, the fact it can light them up like a little MX-5 tells you just how mad this engine is. But what I really love about this car, it's got a real Instagram vibe to the look, a sort of fantasy render, but it's all about function and it's so beautifully realised. It looks wild and I think brilliant. But it drives even better.
So yes, it's a Mustang with a small block, but purists will hate this car already, so who cares? It's a mighty 7-litre aluminium block V8 running carbs and a dry sump and spitting out 625 horsepower. The gearbox is a 6-speed manual from a modern Camaro with 411 gears and a Torsen limited slip differential. Suspension is faithful to the basic layout of the donor car, but with a Watts link for the rear axle, revised tubular front arms for better geometry, and it is completely rose jointed. Plus, the dampers are continuously adjustable DSC sport coilovers with street or track settings. There are 4-piston wheelwood brakes, and despite the gorgeously sculpted steel panels, the Mustang weighs just a little over 1,500 kilos.
Now, I don't want to break the magic of a video, but I've been driving this car now for a good few hours just to get all the action stuff we need, and it's been perfect. Not temperamental, no overheating, no brake fade, no problems with the engine. There's a cohesive feel to the way this car drives that is hard to describe. It feels like a classic old car, but the way it's been updated is so beautifully realised. That's the only way to describe it. But it's unbelievably easy to drive, unbelievably intuitive, And I looked at this thing and assumed it would just be a nightmare, rubbing its arches, really snappy. And I could drive it so easily. All that grip, but just this beautiful progressive balance. For autocross, you need a pointy feel to the car. You need the rear to rotate because it's such a precise and tight courses. And so this car's set to slide a little at the rear on turning, and on a bigger track like this, it's still a tiny track, that just makes it such fun. I'm a little bit blown away. This is a homebrew car with a sort of sci-fi muscle car look, but to drive, it's just so natural. Motor, so good. Cannot beat a V8. Gearbox, I adore this pistol grip, so lovely to use. I can drive this thing all day long, it's fantastic. It's funny that I mentioned Porsches earlier because when you drive some of those old Porsche Resto mods, the thing you're reminded about is how inherently right the 911 is. It's small, it's nimble, and when you throw good stuff at it, updating those old air-cooled cars feels like a genius idea because all their natural inherent qualities can be elevated even further. These old muscle cars, like, I don't want to be rude, but a 1972 Mustang, not going to be a great thing to drive. So the achievement of one man to build this car in his shed, forget about the artistry of it to make it look this good, but to make it drive with so much agility and inherent goodness is mega, absolutely mega.
It appears that I rather like this car. The 7-litre engine is deafeningly loud and sounds vaguely terrifying, but the Savage power has a sweet linear delivery. The power-assisted steering is light but provides great feedback, and overall there's a completely unexpected subtlety to the way this wide-body monster moves.
This is one man's passion. So I don't want to brag it, but I cannot bring myself to drive it slowly. It feels criminal to do so. It is built to do this.
Well, what a mad day with a Ruffian Mustang. I like this thing so much more than I thought I would. But you know what? It doesn't really matter what I think. It doesn't matter what you think. This is Chris's car. This is Chris's baby. This is what hot rodding is all about. And by the way, how much do you think Chris cares what you think about his car right now? He doesn't care.
Quick question, did you actually ask that guy's permission to drive his Pride and Joy like that?
I felt it was implied, to be honest, but also the car was so beautifully set up and so playful. So I went out, I inadvertently skidded the car. He saw it and didn't complain, so I took that as permission.
Okay, and fair play to that bloke, because if we built a Mustang in a shed, it wouldn't look like that, would it?
No, I would be burning the shed down literally within an hour of just pure frustration. It's amazing what he does.
Incredible stuff. Right, so what have we got coming up on the next episode? I'm going to be racing a 900 horsepower rental car through the middle of New York.
And I'm investigating 2 fantastic drivers' cars that we can't buy in the UK or Europe.
It's basically going to be another rant from Jethro.
It is, but this one's a GR Corolla Subaru BRZ rant. BRZ? BRZ?
You've been spending too much time in America.
I mean, you can't buy it in Europe, so it's a BRZ.
BRZ. Thanks for watching. See you later.